What's going on Insta? It's Jay from Lads Talk Health. As always, nothing but loads and loads of positive energy and love coming your way. Just waiting for my beautiful mate Hazza to jump on. Hope everybody's well. Actually, it's negative. I know everybody's well. Oh, there's Madara. Hello Madara. Special shout out to you actually. Hello Nida. Hello C. Louise Bereford. Beautiful, beautiful people. Looking forward to tonight. Get to hear my mate Hazza's story. I'm going to recap on mine once he logs on, just in case, because I know there's a few people. Madara, I know you didn't get to see yesterday's. It's pretty good actually. Got unfortunately interrupted because my little boy developed a fever quite quickly. He's been ill throughout the day. I picked him up from school. But hello. Oh, lovely people. Mrs. Colombo. Hello, Mr. Harry Thomas. Who are you? Go low. I like a bit of you. Yeah, my little boy was sick, so he got cut off. So I'm going to recap mine. And then we're going to get on to the juicy stuff with the lovely Mr. Harry Thomas. How you doing, mate?
Yeah, good, thank you. Been a really good day today. You?
Yeah, really, really good day. Actually, I want to mention, you know, obviously the lighting must look different and the room's different. This is the room I do, I have the sessions with Daisy in, and this is exactly how I like it. And I've got a session with Daisy after this, so it's going to be Daisy, for those who don't know, is a 15-year-old girl I'm coaching with cancer, and she's smashing it out of the park as well. She's incredible. So anyway, that's why I'm in this room, and I'm buzzing off that, so I always look forward to Daisy. Hello, everyone joining.
I just want to get people to be aware, if you watched yesterday, compared to today, look at James's energy. Completely different.
Yeah. Big time. And we had a very honest conversation before this started this evening, which is why we're a little bit late, to be completely honest. About, you know, as soul coaches, don't mean we're the finished article, and it doesn't mean at times we don't need coaching. That's the beauty of mine and Harry's relationship. We coach each other constantly, and how nice is it to have someone in your life, and I hope people have, who you can go to where there's not going to be any emotional attachment, or they're going to play the role of what you expect them to play to cater for your feelings. No, they're just going to go, if needs be, no, you did, blah, blah, blah. Or no, like that sort of blunt honesty, which you always know is going to be in your best interest. And we're now fortunate enough to share that sort of relationship, which is absolutely amazing. So sign up for coaching. Let me recap yesterday, mate, yeah, because it's going to be about you. I did all the yabbering on yesterday. So to really very summarise, I'm going to bullet point my story. So got in trouble with the police, went to prison, done my personal training qualifications while I was in prison. I was in prison for just under 3 years. While I was in there, not only did I get an education in personal training, but an amazing education in crime, which led to me, when I came out of prison, working in the gym successfully as one of the managers. Met Harry. This was that 13 years ago now. But at the time, I was still doing illegal activities on the side. Disclaimer, like as yesterday, not proud of any of that whatsoever, but it's just my story. And unfortunately, it came, not actually, unfortunately, it did what happened, came on top. I had to leave the country. I said to Harry, do you want to take my personal training clients? Harry said, when are you leaving? I said, tomorrow. Harry. So when I shot off again to Greece this time, and I opened up my business in Greece. I started a family in Greece. I lost a child, a little boy, while I was in Greece, came back to England, and started working with, that's when I started working with people with cancer, with an amazing plant called cannabis, okay, because yes, it really can, with a simple science behind it, which I'm not going to go into tonight because that would take up too long, but the endocannabinoid system, which I touched on yesterday, I studied it, found out that this stuff really does work, and for the last 8 years, 5 years, about 4 years, I was working sort of solely with the people with cancer, getting amazing results. Certain people that were supposed to be dead are still alive. Wow. And then had a bit of a breakdown. No, I had a breakdown, actually. Had a real breakdown and needed someone to reach out to. And at this time, Harry had been coming back into my life. And I'll slow it down a bit to introduce this bit now to you properly, because this is when Harry did really, really make a difference. So what I found was, after working with people with cancer and giving them all of my energy, I was actually losing my wife and my children, because I was coming home and all the good energy I'd been giving out to other people, it was then that I was taking on the actual enormity of the pressures of speaking with grandchildren and children and husbands that are sort of looking at you with so much hope, is this going to work, blah, 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 blah. So that I was masking off until I got home, and then my wife and children suffered in regards to just me not being my best self for them. So much so that actually my marriage was definitely on the rocks, 100%. I nearly lost my family over this. And then Harry, around this time, with me and Harry had been sporadically in contact over the 10 years we'd been, 10 years we'd been apart, whatever it was, maybe a little bit less. But then where I was back in England, because after losing a child, it sort of popped the Greek bubble. I wanted to come back to England, and coming back to England is where me and Harry reconnected. Harry had become a life coach now. I was so egotistical at the time that I knew he was doing his life coaching, but you still had your gyms, didn't you? So you were still, in my head, he was still Harry the gym man, basically, who'd done incredibly well. So proud of everything you've achieved with his 2 gyms. And I didn't take much notice of a life coach whatsoever, but it was at a time where I frigging needed coaching. Didn't know it, but what I did notice was when I was talking to Harry wasn't the snot-nosed my little brother Harry from back in the gym days. He was this new fucking Deepak Chopra-ing, Yoda-ing, humming, like just everything I said, he'd come back with a response that would just pierce me, and I'd be like, oh, I don't need that right now. My ego's going, I don't need that right now. My soul's going, fucking let him in. And so eventually, after a little while, a couple of months at least of Harry coaching me, but me not admitting he's coaching me, I asked Harry to be my coach. And that was a real egotistical battle because he's 6 years my junior. My relationship, like I said, for Harry, my egotistical perspective was still, hold on, I'm the one who knows here. How can you be telling me about my children and making me a better dad when you ain't got kids? That don't make no sense. So I had all that going on. But when that all subsided and my soul came through, it really did make, I've said it many times, you just absolutely changed my life. You've made me a better dad, husband, brother, friend, all the above. So that's my backstory now, hopefully a little bit caught up. But watch the first video if you want any more information. I'll give it to my beautiful mate.
Okay, so I'll go back to, I guess, just after school. I didn't know what I wanted to do, and I always loved sports. Every day I was doing some sort of sporting activity, and after school I knew that I didn't want to go to university. That was just, it didn't resonate with me. My mum was encouraging me to do like a plumbing degree, get my hands dirty. I didn't like cups of tea, and I didn't like getting my hands dirty, so that was out the question as well. So I did a sports course at college, and at the end of the sports course, for those that have done it, there's no actual job waiting for you. You still have to go and do further education. And that was either going to physio to university, or we got offered a fitness instructor course, and didn't really know much about the gym scene then. All I remember, the boys in the gym at college was just bench press and bicep curls. That was literally it. And when we did our assessment, the lady that come in assessing us, she said, look, my name's Lisa. I remember her name. She said, my job, I literally go around the world on cruises and I train people. And I just thought, whoa, you can get paid and do that. And at that point, I got my qualification and got myself a job in the local gym. Then in the local gym, my first question I asked my new boss, I was really nervous. How do I be the best personal trainer? And he literally gave me an answer that stayed with me. He said, make sure you just go into central London. That's where you need to go. So I worked my first year in this local gym. I was on $6,000 a year, and I didn't even know about money. I didn't even know what was good or not. I just loved being in the gym, but I was on apprentice wage. They managed to swindle it somehow that I had the qualifications, but they made me then do a customer service apprentice qualification just to justify my wage. And then luckily, my friend Alex, that you're good friends with too, he had a job in the Fitness First in London. He said, look, I'm a sales guy, come up, I'll get you clients. And I remember going into London for the interview, and I just thought, and I'm from Heathrow, like I'm literally on the outskirts, but I never ventured into London. Always had bad reputation. London's too expensive, London's too posh, London's too this. And it's amazing how, again, influence from other people's truths, or not even their truths, it's just hearsay passed on. So I got the job in the local gym at the local Fitness First in London Bridge, and I didn't know anything about life at all. I thought I knew everything. I had my book of Men's Health magazines, all the different workouts I was giving my clients. But literally having, I think my first client worked at Goldman Sachs. He was a top partner. And I'm thinking back, like, how did he invest in me? I'm like, £400 for 10 sessions? And it's like, yeah, that was a breakfast for him or lunch. And, and it just made me be around people that were successful. Not just successful though, just the way that they approached life. They took no bullshit, but also that attitude for the way they were in the gym. Like, they literally hit hard. And I just got to like mix with all these different sorts of people. So a banker for me was just some posh person that was really snooty and stuff. And I was like, wow, all these perceptions that I've had are completely wrong. These are normal people, hardworking. And for about, I met James at this point as well. So James was a senior at the club, and we used to play squash together. We used to do handstands, and I always used to have quite thought-provoking conversations with him. So there was always a connection with our relationship. I spent more time in the sales office at one period than I did anywhere else, and we had our own little crew there. So then started training people and was getting good results. I met my business partner at the time. We were both the new guys. We were number 7 and 8 of the team of trainers. And within like a few months, we were already talking about getting our own gym. And we just realized that all the clients would come in, they'd only come in to see a personal trainer. They wouldn't use the gym on their own. And what we realized at the time, there was personal trainers that I still say the industry now, they don't give the word personal trainer a good reputation. They didn't take it seriously. They looked out of shape. They were always on their phone, brand new iPhone at the time. But it didn't resonate with what we were offering. And so we just said, right, why don't we just save up our money and we get our own place? And I was 20 and I was making more money back then than some of the months that I have been recently. So I was doing really well in terms of revenue. And fast forward 18 months at the Fitness First. So I got to know James quite well at this point. This is when our journeys started separating. And I remember I was on the laptop, literally finalizing my equipment list and doing budgeting and stuff, which I hadn't even heard of before. And James come and approached me and said, look, I'm thinking about going traveling. I'm like, when are you going? Tomorrow. So he just shut off. And then about a few days later, I opened my gym. So that was October 2009, and we opened in London Bridge. And just to give you an example, I showed my parents the gym, and I was like, oh, this is my new gym. And I just thought, I've got a gym. My mum was like, how much is this per month? And I told her, she was like, what have you done, you idiot? And that was the start of it. And we also had a landlord who literally owned the whole area. He had a bet with the maintenance team on site on this, the location that we were on. It's like apartments, and he had a bet that we wouldn't last 6 months. And he said, at Christmas, I'm going to buy you all a bottle of champagne because they won't be there for 6 months. 12 years later, we were still there. So that was kind of a nice driving point. And I've always lived life. If someone says you can't do something, I'm like, yeah, you can. And I'll make that happen. And that's through sports, that's through anything. So I like a challenge. So when we opened the first gym, we literally, it was like a second-hand gym. We had an Argos squat rack. We had stolen tiles from Fitness First. We had second-hand flooring from, it was empty, but we were still a luxury studio. There wasn't much at the time back then. And looking back, you kind of question, how did we do well? But we were good with people. So when people come in, it was the whole experience that they had. Like, we cared about them, we went the extra mile, and we realized we were kind of coaching them without realizing it, because we were understanding it was impacting their life at work, and they were getting better performance, they were having better relationship with the kids because they had more energy to give. So the company evolved over the years, and within 3 years, we invested in a business coach. And I learned so much more about life in general then. But investing in yourself, as an example, what you put out comes back. And I remember he walked in and he saw the state of behind our reception, which was hidden from everyone else. He's like, does that represent luxury? We're like, No, he made you aware of things. So awareness kind of then played a big part. And it's amazing how you go through life oblivious to start with, but then looking back, you realize the importance of these things that people bring up on you. So we opened the second studio in Liverpool Street. And at that point, we realized we needed help at that point. Me and Ben did everything. We were doing the towels, doing the marketing. But when we opened both studios, we said we'd run one each, and literally both businesses went down. And so we had to start employing. We built a team up in the end to about 30 members of staff. We had a whole backroom team, receptionists, with the accountants. And it was a big journey, because when you get other people involved, and again, looking back, we had no clear values. Someone would have a manager title and you just expect them to be a manager, and then you get frustrated that they do things that you don't want it to. So as we're going along, you realize that you have to make it about what you want, and you have to get people to buy into your vision. And that's why I love what we're doing at Lads Talk Health now. We're so cemented in what we do. We know what our foundations are, but we also know where we're going. And we really connect with people because they're buying into it too. There's an excitement there. It's not about us. So the company got quite a good reputation. I then found business. I thought it was quite easy. I just thought the processes, you get that in place, you get the right people, and hey presto. I then set up 2 other businesses on the side. I had a bubble football company, Azorbin, where we did events around the country, and I was having about 7 events all at one time. So it was brilliant. I had 7 people working for me, all doing events, and I was taking a nice little pay cut from that. And then the other bit was the Segways. I'm not sure if you remember, when they first come out, they were everywhere. So, and I remember we bought them. It was the in-demand product, and literally we were getting 30 grand orders every 3 weeks. It was so easy. You get them to go, get them to go. And after a while, my whole accounts merchant, I had a lot of money in there, more than I ever had, frozen. And every day, like the merchants say, oh, the card holder hasn't made this payment, they take the money back. But I'd already sent the board off. Kept happening, and it wasn't just my money that was stored there was other people in, and it was frauds. Like 93% of the payments online were frauds. It was on a level that you can't predict, and when we started digging into it, you would see your card details are not safe, by the way, because you would see it'd be a name, it'd be all these cards, decline, 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 one would go through, and then on the front end it would be Kirsty Johnson from Scotland. And it was horrible, but I've always been laid back, always been happy until this point. I got stressed, and it got so bad that I couldn't be on hold to the merchants because the music used to make me cry. I literally couldn't deal with it. At this period as well, I was living with my mate. We had the party flat that everyone come back to, and I did a lot of drugs, a lot of partying, lack of sleep, every weekend in the end. And I know why now. It was because I was stressed all the time, and that was kind of the only thing I had looked forward to, and it was such an escape. But then the spiral would happen. I'd wake up on a Monday with hardly any sleep, anxiety galore, and my main core business, the gyms, I wasn't focusing on. And I used to blame people that I worked with, especially my business partner, who's been my biggest teacher. I used to blame other people for my stresses. So whilst that was going on, I tried getting myself sorted. And again, I've always been fit and healthy, always in the gym, always eating reasonably well. But health now is not just those 2, it's so many other components. And the other business, I had someone actually doing the sales for me on the Zorban football. And I just said to him, look, you continue doing this. I need to get myself sorted. I need to focus on my core business, and I'll just do the bookings now and then. I didn't pay attention to anything. It was like I just didn't want to know what was going on. The bank account was getting less and less. I knew something was up, but I just didn't face it. So dealing with your stresses, dealing with your fears. And I got a phone call from my accountant one day, and it's like, where's all this money going to? What's this account number? And there were internal transfers, and the guy that was running the sales had access to my Barclays card, which actually had all my accounts in there, which I didn't realize. So he was transferring money from one account to the other, and it was like 9,700 quid over a period of 6 months, and I did not know. And I remember my heart was just like, oh my God, I've been like someone that I've grown up with was stealing from me. So I had the stresses of the money that I couldn't get hold of the other company. I had this one, and my business performance was terrible at the gyms, plus on top of the partying, and I got myself in a bad way. Then my first turning point, I had two kind of moments where I can look back and say that was the start of where I am now. So one was it was about 4 years ago in Cyprus. It was like a school reunion. I had two friends from school that were getting married, and literally all my mates that I hadn't seen in a while were coming. And I remember going there with the intention that it's going to be a healthy holiday. I went for a run the first day. But it was like a stag do. They were all in an all-inclusive hotel. All the lads were just drinking non-stop. Drugs come out. I had a breakdown. Like, I remember getting daggered of all this. It was constant. It was like anxiety and all these things that were bugging me. I just broke down crying. Like on a nightclub out, I was crying my eyes out in front of my mates. And I didn't know why. And the next day, I booked the wrong flight home. So I was on there in the island on my own. Everyone else had gone home. And I remember on the Sun Lounger, like all these thoughts had come, and I had to write them all down. I had about 83 things that were on there. And it was little things, if you looked at them individually, not getting back to emails. My voicemails are up at 70, unlistened to. I was just ignoring everything. And I remember phoning my mum up crying. Like, and I never used to have them relationships with my mum. She's always been amazing to me, my parents have, but my stresses I didn't want to put on them. But I needed someone at that point, and it was like my soul was crying out. So come back to the UK, my mum was like, right, got you on a mindfulness course, 5-week course. I'm like, mindfulness? So I've gone on the course, I turned up, the guy's got no shoes on, he's got long hair, he's got this like amazing spiritual necklace on, and he's called Doug. So I was like, come in. Sit around the chairs. It's like, it gives us all a prune each. Smell the prune. Feel the prune. Be present with the prune. I remember thinking, what the fuck is a prune? And then we did this meditation session. Never done meditation before. And I remember coming out of it and like, oh my God, my foot started going. It was mad. He was like, no, you were snoring. And I had to grab your foot to shut you up. So that was my first experience of meditation. And I just remember the 5 weeks, it was horrible. I was agitated, my mind was elsewhere, and I didn't remember. At the time, I thought a waste of time, but my biggest teaching from that, I wasn't present. And being present was, I wasn't there. So then I used to study a lot, and I never used to take in information. I never retained it. I used to go on dates, and I'd forget half the things they say. I'm asking the same questions again. So obviously my mind was elsewhere. So I then found Deepak Chopra. My client introduced me to his 21 free meditation. And the very first session, he said an analogy, which I love using. He said, when you walk down the road, you get a stone in your shoe. There's no thought to it. You literally pick it up and you throw it away. If you walk down the road and you get a negative thought in your head, he said, really, you should grab that and just throw it away, just like the stone. But you don't know how to do it, so you leave it in there. And over time, that manifests. So if we just look at the stone, if you leave it in there, you walk funny to start with, you get a blister on your foot. But then the problems occur, then your knee hurts, then your hip hurts. Everything's connected. So it's the same with these negative thoughts. When we leave them in there, it sits in your body and it manifests into physical symptoms. Physical symptoms to the point where we do feel the stress, anxiety. And in the line of work we do now, that turns into tumours. It's your body saying, you need to pay attention now. I've been warning you for so long. That's your soul. So that was the first bit. And I started going on the journey of meditation, but I still lived the other life. And the thing is, this life that I was living, the party side, it wasn't helping my business. It wasn't a good reputation where, for one hand, I'm helping people. I remember my business partner used to give me stick all the time, which I took personally. Oh, he's so this, but he was professional. And so I say that because there's people in your life that trigger you for a long time. If you can zoom out, you realize they become your biggest teachers. They're showing you what you need to see, and your reaction is because you haven't dealt with it. So I was meditating on come downs to Wayne Dyer, to Eckhart Tolle. So I'm literally like horrible feeling, but listening to these people telling me how to change my life. I then started cutting down on that side and really started getting into my learning. And I then got myself in drunken situations, and over a period of 18 months, I got myself arrested 3 different occasions. All drunk, all don't really remember much, no violence, no aggression, wrong place, wrong time. The last one, though, I had to, and I started cutting down drinking. And there was a stag do, and my mates were like, "Look, you've got to come. It's your best mate." So I said, "Okay, I'll come." Got through the Friday, fine. Remembered my night. The Saturday, I turned around, I woke up, and the bars were there. I was in the cell in my swimming shorts. I don't remember a thing. Don't remember anything, mate. Like it was awful. And Sunday was closed, so I was in there for 24 hours in my swimming shorts, and I didn't know why I was in there. So my head's going all sorts. Didn't have anyone to speak to. I had one phone call at the time, and my friend who I called had lost his phone. I didn't have any other numbers. The only number I knew was my mum's. So imagine calling your mum up like that. And so in the end, I was in there for 40 hours. I missed my flight home. I said that there's one point where the guy opposite me was urinating, and it dribbled into my cell, and I got the voice in my head.
I'm really sorry about that, mate.
I got that voice in my head, and it said, "What are you doing with your life at the moment? You've got no control of it." And at that point, I come back out, and it's funny. This is like a year and a half after my breakdown, and the same client introduced me to Deepak Chopra. Said, "You ever thought about not drinking?" And I said, "Yeah, I'm tempted." She told me a book to read, The Unexpected Joys of Being Sober. And obviously the wedding was coming up quite soon as well, from after the stag. So I went to that wedding not drinking. I haven't had a drop since. And that's been really, really big spiritual journey for me. Like I said it on the other episode earlier today. When you don't drink to start with, the first thing you feel shame that you have to admit that you're not drinking, or people question you, and you're like, oh, or you try putting stuff in a different glass and you're pretending it's stuff. So not being okay with me, worrying about what other people think. Then you start feeling better from it, and then you start noticing the reactions of other people. You get to the point where it's, no, I don't drink. Like confident saying it and being okay with it, knowing that it will be met with resistance, it will be met with people trying to persuade you to drink. And it's that shift of really uncertainty to no, I've now taken into the rest of my life. And so with this whole period, I was learning, and I went on a real self-discovery mode, self-awakening, however you would label it. I was just listening to books all the time, and reading books, then on YouTube even more so. And I was just picking up things all the time. It was soaking in. And the beauty of hearing other people's stories was that when you think you're in a bad place and you think you're on your own, and you just hear one thing that they say that you resonate with yourself, and then you put it into action and it works instantly. It's like this, oh my God. And that's empowering. So I just went on a whole period. So just an example, my Audible at the moment, in 3 years, I've read or listened to 1 month and 5 days. So over like 3 whole years, like a whole month and 5 days of just the books. And the books, first of all, kind of business, self-development. And now I've just gone on this spiritual path as well. And you'll see that all the authors all tell you the same things in a slightly different way. But it just hits me. I had a bad memory before. The words that I used, I used to tell myself I had a bad memory. I have the best memory now. I can get a book, I can read it, I can soak it in, but I also can share it to other people in a way that you'll understand it. And I love that experience to it now. And I feel incredible. I feel I'm definitely that I found a space where what I'm doing I love. I know what I'm doing I'm good at. And I know this is what I'm going to be doing for the rest of my life, and I want to enhance on that as well. So that was kind of my journey, and you can see that mine and James, and I've become a better speaker too. Yeah, honestly, that was the thing that I realised is I couldn't speak at all on camera. I'll find one of my first videos that I did, and you just hear me going constantly. And my main aim now, and I'll put it out there for everyone to hear. My aim is to sell out the Royal Albert Hall. I'd like to deliver, or I will deliver, my experience to the whole audience and get all the heads all combined. Then the Lads Talk Health Goal was going to be in a bigger stadium, and we're going to do our own concept joint. And I'd like to be able to replicate that all around the world. And the beauty of what's been happening at the moment is the people we're connecting with, the stories that we hear from others, that like now there's a connection there, and it just opens up so many different pathways. So let me bring it back now to returning back to James. So I've now for a few years, oh yeah, I missed a big part. I got myself a life coach. I got so
when that was going to come, mate.
Well, during this whole period, I invested in a life coach, and there was a few synchronicities with the guy that was coaching me. And I remember I got one of my clients said, "You need to speak to my client Ali. He's a coach. He's amazing. He lives in Scotland." Connected. He was quite persistent over a period of time, but I never really took that up. And then another client 6 months later had said, "Oh, you need to see this guy called Ali. He's amazing." I said, "Is he from Scotland?" It's like, "Yeah." And he happened to be in London the next day. So I phoned him up and said, "Oh, what a small world." He's like, "No, what's even weirder, that someone else called me up and said, I saw two men talking about you in a gym." So someone was listening to our conversation, and he knew who Ali was as well. Jeez. So I met up with Ali in the cafe, and Ali's very spiritual, very awakened, and taught me a lot of stuff. And there was 3 things that were said in that, and it just hit me. So the first thing he said, "Look, I'll tell you my story. Was in recruitment, really laid back, and then I got promoted, and I got stressed." And he said, "My girlfriend introduced me to Deepak Chopra." I'm like, "No way." I was like, "Deepak saved my life." He's like, "Deepak's my best friend. Whenever I was stressed, I listen to Deepak." So that was one. He then went on a plant medicine journey, and he said he'd gone to Peru. I knew exactly what he was going to say. He said he did some ayahuasca. He got shown, become a coach. And he literally just quit his job and then decided to become a life coach. And I had this intention of being a coach. I thought I was a good coach. What he did was actually then made that commitment, right, I'm going to go ahead with it. I had the attachment to my gyms and I couldn't let that go, but decided to become a coach. And I realized quite quickly, and James will speak for me here, when you think you're a personal trainer, you think you're coaching. I used to deliver the personal trainer courses. We used to teach people to become personal trainers. So I was tutoring, I was mentoring, really good reputation. So I thought I was coaching there. When you do the coach, you realize none of the things I was doing before I was coaching. I was telling you, I was giving you my agenda. You asked for advice and I'm telling you how to do it. You want to start your business, right? This is where we start first, but I'm telling you, coaching is the complete opposite. We don't tell you anything. We ask you questions, we listen, and we give you that confirmation when you're speaking your truth. And after that, my whole approach changed to the way that I was delivering consultations, the way that I was getting results from clients through my words. Like, it wasn't even my programs anymore. It wasn't my nutrition. It was like getting them believing in the process, them experiencing it, and quite quickly, like the changes are amazing. So if you look at my CV in terms of the transformations physical, I wish I could show you the mental side of it as well. So then James got back in my life, and we was always sharing information, a lot of conspiracy chats. But he also told me the line of work he was doing over the years and working with clients. Whereas first of all, I'm giving fitness advice, but then I just saw the energy that he was giving in. And if you know James and you'll see it, he goes all in. Like, he loves what he does. He cares about people. He's passionate about the oil and the endocannabinoid system. So he's always educating. I just saw this guy drained out all the time. So every now and then it'd be sharing information, and I'm kind of coaching him within the sessions. And then he reached out to me, and I started coaching him. And within 2 sessions, completely different person. But there was an excitement every time he come back to the session. It was like, oh, I did this, I did that. I protect my energy. I felt better. I held the space. Like all the things that he was experiencing now, seeing the difference. Fast forward, COVID hit. And me and James went on a bit of adventure with 2 other guys. Learning curve, but we don't need to go there today. But I said at one point, James, you'd be an amazing life coach. I said it's going to, like what you're doing anyway, it's just going to support that on another level. So I said, go and do the life coaching course. And I'll throw it back to you.
Yeah, so this was going on in the pandemic where everyone was losing their jobs, bless them. Harry's telling me, because I've always been in sales of some sort, both illegal and legal. And in my legal career, I ended up doing quite well. Worked for some decent sized companies, worked for an IT company. What's interesting is I worked in the IT for an IT company, supplied some of the biggest systems globally across the world. And to this day, I am crap on computers. I'm so terrible. Harry will definitely testify to that. But I had a good job. The way our family set up is I've got a lovely wife and two amazing kids. And the agreement was when me and my wife got together, whoever ends up being the main breadwinner, more money, that person will go out and earn the money. And the other person will do, in my opinion, a much harder job, being that full-time stay-at-home person. So I ended up being the person, due to my sales jobs, that earned good money, good enough for my wife not to have to work, for us to be able to raise our children the way we saw fit for us, which was at least one of us has full access. We're not giving our children to other people to bring up in them important years. And we love our kids, we just wanted to be around them. So yeah, I had to have a conversation. And bear in mind, I hadn't been on good terms with the missus for a bit because prior to Harry coming in, that's like I said when I said at the beginning of this story, is he came in at a point where, yes, it was great on paper. Look, I was helping people with cancer and getting incredible results to this day. That still the novelty doesn't wear off every time we get that amazing sort of all clear result. But as Harry said, I was very drained, so I was coming home not being the dad, the husband that I should have been at that point. But then obviously through Harry and his amazing coaching, I started picking up again, because what he emphasized a minute ago, I can't tell you enough, is the beauty of coaching, is the fact that we're there to listen, really listen to your soul, and everything you say that you think is a negative, screaming out in between those lines is so much positive, and you just push it back on someone. Do you realize what you just said there? Oh yeah, I did say that. It's incredible. So anyway, I had to have a very awkward conversation. Guys, I changed my job last week so I don't miss live, because oh my God, that's incredible. Madara, 2 salutes today. Did you see a message on Telegram what she did? I'm not going to put that on here, but well done. That's 2 lives you saved today in regards to what you did earlier, by the way. Massive. That's very, very humbling. Thanks very much. So yeah, I had to say to my missus, babe, I've changed. I'm going to quit my job and I'm going to become a life coach. She looked at me, what? In a pandemic. Like, there's no one, babe, I'm telling you. And then, like I said, like the truth be told, as you now know, your name was not flavor of the month in my house for a little bit, because I was quite scared of my missus. It was hateful. No, Harry said I'll be good, but I did, in fairness, on a serious note, what I pitched to her was, honestly, because I was scared going into it, because of, I definitely didn't feel worthy of a life coach. I was thinking, I'm so broken. There's so many things that, yes, Harry helped me deal with loads, but as obviously Harry, you didn't. I didn't even disclose to you how certain things from childhood stuck with me so much. It's the abuse that I've put out there by now anyway, so sexual abuse as a child, that I didn't share with Harry initially. So there was still, so when he said be a life coach, my ego said, mate, life coach, you ain't dealt with shit in your life, let alone sitting in front of somebody else and becoming a life coach. So even when Harry, when you were saying it to me, I was saying, you know what, Haz, I'm going to go on this course, but not with my goal to become a life coach. My goal was to work myself out. And from the first day, the mirror came up. But so, yeah, I ended up going on the life coach course, which upskilled me massively, just in every facet of my multifaceted life, on all the roles we played, dad, friend, husband, That's the two kids, you have different relationships with each kid. You've got all these different roles, but instantly there was this big shift. And yeah, so that at that point as well, obviously Harry by then had already started working with me, with people with cancer, but that we really went into it at that point together, and that's when we really, so that I'll pass it back to you at this point.
Yeah, so me and James then used to have daily conversations, and it was like an excitement of what had been going on in your day, what kind
in my camper van.
Yeah. For those haven't seen, our first episode was actually us together, and I think it's a good episode looking back now.
Yeah. I had a better headline then.
And yeah, we used to do these late night Zooms, and it was like, oh, we got something here. Like me and James would watch him back. You'd watch him as the observer and thinking, well, I don't even remember saying that. And you get excited about the conversations that we were talking. And we just said, lads talk health. It just literally popped out. I think we got it recorded somewhere.
Yeah.
So we started the Instagram lives, and it's evolved into what's happened now. I think what I like is if you said, what do we do or who do we work with? It's hard to even answer that question. It's like literally everything. And what it all boils down to, every person is an individual, they're a unique soul. So remove all the labels. If we go straight to your foundations, every single person is the same. Everyone has an ego, everyone has a soul, everyone can now bring the self present, and everyone can play their best self in no matter what they do in their life.
And I'm going to chip in on that because the realization of this came with us. Like our dynamic, we'd grown into, it was a different, well, to be honest, I know where it was. It stemmed a lot of it from feeding off the energy of working with people like, I won't say his name, but that young dad who made that statement that time. Yeah, I'm living my best life since I've had cancer. I've murdered that. What did he say? I've butchered that.
Yeah. So we had a joint coaching session with a young lad who had been diagnosed with cancer, same age as us. So imagine like you've just been given this awful news, and you've got two lads who are like, do the same with us. So he's got two lads either side, and we're talking to him about stuff, and we talked about all sorts. But by the end of this 90-minute call, it was a different person. And by the end of it, he wasn't talking about the things he was worrying about. He went, you know what? This is the healthiest I've ever been, and I got cancer. We should all live our life like we got cancer.
That was it.
Me and James kind of took a step back. And what he means by that, guys, and we quote that, and we have to quote him too, because it does sound, you got live life, got cancer. When you have your back against the wall, and we've seen this so many times now, and he just reconfirmed it with that quote, nothing else matters. Like the things that stress you out and the people that you've got a grudge on, that goes out the window. And what really comes through is what is important to you. And at that point, you make the decisions that you want to. You say, no, I'm not coming out today because I'm healing. And you can make that big statement, no. And then you can start being more empowered to protecting your energy and make your own choices. And what we've learned from people that got their backs against the wall was like, why do we have to wait till we get ill? Why do we have to get to that point and then get healthy? And, oh, you shouldn't eat sugar and you shouldn't do that. Why can't we do that like now and enjoy life? And when you start speaking around death, which I'd like to do a conversation with James on, because that's been even more magical. When you understand death, you realize how good life is. And you realize that when we get to 50 and we're stressing about dying and not going to go, you're not playing your role as a grandparent. You're not playing your role as a parent because you're worrying about dying. We all die. And I say that funny because I did a soul midwife course and I learned about the stages of dying. But I also saw the stories from all these soul midwives, and every single one, she said 99% of soul midwives, you're spiritual after that. You realize there's a lot more to death. The moments we've had, and they share these stories, and then me and James have had experiences with clients that have passed, and it's magical. And I'd like to be able to do a story with as a theory of what we're told and what we now believe happens. And all of a sudden, you can start appreciating everything a lot more. You start connecting with people, things that would bug you normally, forget it. And it's like, if I've got to protect all my energy right now, because at the moment I'm dying, and if I'm wasting any energy, I'm not healing. So if I can protect all my energy now and I can reserve my energy and I can enhance my energy, that means I have more energy to give out. And you'll see me and James smiling all the time. That's not a smile just from the face, that smile is just out of us. And it's because we love what we do, but we're living a good life now from the decisions we made.
Oh, definitely, reach out. Yeah, is it Bert Ernie? I love that name, by the way. Ernie? Yeah, definitely reach out. Definitely reach out. Actually, I'm going to give you an example as well. So the second person, and this is prior to me doing the life coaching course. So this was a real, at the time, like again, egotistically, I was still untrained in what was going on. So the second person I ever worked with cancer was not a family member, because my journey started with a family member. The second person wasn't a family member. And when I met this person, they'd been told, basically, because in her words, the chemotherapy was killing her. She described to me what she was going through. And when I met this woman, she was frail, a lot of her hair had gone. I always said this to you, didn't I? But when she spoke, like she was, like it was like a shady drug deal in a where was we, in a Bristol Sainsbury's, because we met like halfway in a Bristol Sainsbury's car park. I got into their car, and in the back, and they were older than me, and I was younger. It seemed off on paper. But I sat there and I listened to this woman who basically said, right, James, I've been told I'm going to die in a matter of weeks because I've given up on chemotherapy. And like I said, this woman was frail, but when she spoke, I was just in the back, shitting myself, nervous as well, just feeling this woman's energy. Again, now, it's funny how I've not really recounted this incident. I don't know, have I shared this with you? Mm-hmm. I have, yeah? Perfect. It's only now that I've realised what was going on. It was this woman's energy, because what she was saying, as she was saying, I've given up on the chemo because I think it's going to kill me. I've had the conversation with my 3 daughters and my 5 grandchildren that I'm going to die now because I'm not going to take that treatment anymore. I'm willing to try and do something for myself, but I'm not going to be bullshitted. And I was in the back like, I was like nervous, just because I was in awe of this woman as well, but also because of the pressure that obviously came with. Anyway, what this woman did, we started going on the journey together, and to this day, other than my uncle, this was the most I'd ever got involved and the most draining on reflection, which has had a really interesting afterburn effect with our relationship, because we're still in first day at work. We're still in contact. Shout out to Becca Hayes, just joined. We're still in contact, but it was an interesting story. So as I said, first meet this woman. She's been told that she's told me I've only got weeks to live. I'm not going back to chemo. I've told my daughters, told my grandchildren. It's what she did next. So the journey we started going on, we became really close. Ended up going up to her house sometimes with my family as well. Became close as family. This woman really went for at that point, very raw ideology and very raw information that I had, because I'd only worked with one person at that point. So, and yes, it had been an incredible result, but now moving on to this next person, it wasn't family, there was more risk involved and all the rest of it. So yeah, we became close, and her daughters were dead against what she was doing. Her daughters, like, it was really, I'm not going to go, and again, don't want to digress too much, but this is something me and Harry have learned. When people have cancer within your family, just know you've got a massive role to play. You have. However, being ill-educated on cancer in the first place doesn't help. Like Harry said earlier, you need to stop drinking sugar. You don't need to do this. You don't need to do it. You're stating the fucking obvious with the greatest respect. That's not helpful at that point. So, and it does come from nearest and dearest. In this case, children. Children saying that I said, I'm not going to, it was just, it's like emotional blackmail done out of oblivious, unconditional love, which is ill-educated on something that's so serious for this person that's just trying to do something for themselves. Funnily enough, to be around a bit longer for you guys, like, give me a fucking break. But this is, and it's not a dig against the daughters. This is how life works. But anyway, to my point, what she did, because she used to, again, I ended up coaching this woman, not knowing it at the time, but I was her outlet. I wasn't attached emotionally. And that was the one thing I'm proud of. I'm proud of that whole situation, but I'm really proud of the fact that I didn't emotionally get involved in her problems. That wasn't where my draining happened. Like, in fact, my draining happened with trying to manage that situation to not get involved and not be too empathetic. And if she said something, actually go back with, oh no, hold on. Everyone knows to dish out advice for them. Yeah, very well said. So what she did, so I'll never forget, she phoned me up, it was like 1 o'clock in the morning. We was having a real good chat, and she went, I've got to cut them off, James. I went, what are you talking about? She went, I've got to cut off my daughters through this period. And I said to her, well, what you do? Why? She went, and bear in mind, this lady, interesting enough, she was a lot more in tune with energy with herself that, but she's taught Pilates and yoga for years. And she said to me, I've got to protect my energy. So there's an example of what Harry was just saying. And funnily enough, she did. Let me just give you the happy ending on that story. It was November, it was the end of October, November, December, February. So 4 months later, that woman got the all clear. So, and happy days again.
Still here now.
And still here now, importantly. So there's an example of, and I can't emphasize this enough, seriously. If you have cancer, your energy comes first. No matter what you've been told, how long you got left, or any, which let me tell you this, there is not one bit of scientific evidence in history to support the fact that someone can point a finger at you and say, you got 6 months, you got this, that's bollocks. That's part of, unfortunately, the fear-mongering training that's involved in the financial setup of cancer. Yes, you have to protect yourself first. Exactly. Bang on. So protecting your energy first is imperative. If you want to live, just know this. You've got to want it in your soul to know, now it's about me. No, nobody else. It's about me. And the other people. So go on, mate.
How difficult it is for people to get grasp of that to start with, because we are the people that give, and we always think about others, and we're being horrible. You're saving yourself, and zoom out. If you did this just for 9 months, but you got another 10 years, is that worth it? Yes, definitely is. We've done 18 months in COVID.
Oh dear. So yeah, and she did, and she taught me massively. Oh yeah, so back to the roles. This is so important. Husbands, wives, children, grandchildren. You have. Oh, by the way, kids. Get kids around these people as much as possible. As much, any little ones that are involved in the family, get them around it, because kids have got the purest, uncorrupted, no, Nanny, you're going to get better energy. No, Daddy, you're going to get better. That's what they need. That's what they need from that point, because they'll egotistically, even the sick person, look at them and egotistically judge and say, oh, he just wants the best for me. But that's exactly what you need at that point. And everybody else around these people, your role is not to be a cancer expert unless you look into it. I would advise that as well. Look into it. If you want to have an opinion on what they've got to do with this thing, then at least have looked into this thing in the first place. But otherwise,
and also, they're not alien. They're human too. So if you're telling them you've got to eat this and you've got to do that and you need more sleep, but you're sitting there with a burger and an ice cream and stuff,
smoking a fag.
Yeah, what gives you the right to do that? Cancer's imbalance. There's things that are not serving you in life, and we need to change it. But by giving these things, and you don't do it too, and we're very good to do that as humans, very good to point to someone else and say, you're not doing this and you're not doing that. Do it yourself too. We're all the same, humans. And again, they're not dying, they're healing. And what happens with healing? We take control of our energy. So,
yeah.
It's important. We've got to watch the time, James.
Yeah, cool. How long we got?
2 minutes.
2 minutes. The man just saying, mate, your story, I always love hearing your stories. Those little bits, like you say to me when you hear mine, there's these bits there's bits tonight as well was in there that I was like, didn't tell me that one before, it's not come out before. I really enjoyed that. And for anyone that's listened as well, just for me, I want to say massive thank you for all the nice messages. For the people I mentioned again that reached out again about being sexually abused and feeling just like hearing my story, giving them some sort of reason to address it themselves. Do it. Tell your story to yourself. Like, so you ain't got to tell the world. Tell it to yourself first, though, because that's come up again today. And again, Harry Chew, mate, love it, Fitz. Thank you very much that you close out the show, mate.
Yeah, just to say thank you, guys. So that's kind of our story over 2 parts, and the story stays the same. Like James said, there might be little bits here and then, but we love what we do now, and it's a big part of our story. And the main part of our platform is to allow other people to share their stories. So we're always looking for guests. We're always looking for people to connect with, but we also want people to come on the journey with us. We want to make a big impact all over this world now, and we've got so much information, so much experiential knowledge to share, so much love to share as well. And like, the world needs more happiness right now, and I know for a fact that we can bring some of that. And if you can come too, we can make a big shift.
Mate, before you cut off, there's a question, I don't know if you saw it, that I can't just leave that hanging. Satori, just to confirm, and I'm genuinely asking no sarcasm, are you talking to a coach? Are you saying talking to a coach cured her cancer? No, not at all. So basically, I would advise watch yesterday's video and watch our other videos on cancer, because we've got to close it off now. But no, this woman took a path of natural plant medicine, which is something I've worked in now for 8 years. And that, along with her mindfulness and her spirit, to the plant medicine and something called the endocannabinoid system. Again, watch our videos. There's quite a few on them now. And I mean that genuinely, because if you sound like you're interested, that's what it is. We're not stating that by talking to us, we cure cancer, by the way. Just a disclaimer on that straight away. But sorry, Haz, you closed off beautifully, but if we'd have left that hanging, I didn't feel right.
Yeah, no, it's fine. And what coaching does, guys, is people are allowed to be themselves and be okay with themselves. And that's the best bit. And then the last bit is they know how to turn up as their best self, because they've literally understood their ego and their soul. They had that choice. So there's something about just being able to tell your story and actually someone listen to it.
Love, mate. See you later, everybody.